I understand their needs really well. So when I'm looking for things for them in terms of coaching and additional support, I understand the language, I understand what they need on an individual level. And it's vitally important that us who have services that want to help people in sport, want to help the athletes.
I meditate for my body, I work. He said, meditate 20 minutes, work out 40 minutes, and he reads for about 30 minutes. So I was like, okay, I need to meditate, but I am working out almost every day. And for my reading, instead of reading, I'm interviewing amazing people like you. And so you're teaching me every day. So this is my learning. So yeah, with 3 fighters around you, you must be feeling super safe at all times. You're like, okay, listen, I've got a husband, but guess what? I'm going to call my daughters first to sort you out. Some cut you off the wrong way or whatever. You're like, oh, you don't want to do that to me.
Well, I share a little story.
Hey guys, this is Avi Arya, father of 2 girls, 6 dogs, husband to a superwoman, a street car racer turned hotelier, now social media marketer and founder of Internet Moguls. Welcome to my channel.
I love the way it says the arrows have joined the meeting.
Yeah.
It's almost like a knight coming in with all their security and all of those people.
Yep.
That's awesome. Sarah, you know, I always tell, that's how we start every interview. We always tell our audience the shortest distance between 2 human hearts is always the story. You tell somebody a story and you're connected with them forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a short version of my story, which we call the hero introduction, which is a format of telling a story on the internet, which is short, crisp, and from the heart. And then I will request you to tell us yours.
Okay. I did some slides like Lakshmi recommended, and my story is partially in those slides. So do you want me to switch to the slides at that point?
Sure. That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome. So my name is Avi Arya, father of 2 girls, 6 dogs, husband to a superwoman, a street car racer turned hotelier, now social media marketer and founder of the Micro Video Mastery System, a system that allows everyday entrepreneurs to become video entrepreneurs and get known, get leads and get sales using just their smartphone and a nice Wi-Fi connection. And with this time saved, with this efficiency program with which they save time, the time that they've saved, they use to spend with their beautiful family. So that's my mission in life. That's my story in life. And over to you now.
Okay. Well, I'm going to share screens, or at least attempt to. It says
I will just make you the host
me.
and make co-host. There you go.
Okay, share screen. And there we are. Okay, so my story is wrapped up in these PowerPoint slides because sometimes...
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch off my video and it's going to be you and your slides, and I'm going to be just taking notes and listening. So it's between you and the audience now.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
So here we are. My story is in the slides and you'll hear it in a bit of detail at the beginning and you'll experience it as we go through. Now, I've called this presentation Know Your Athlete, and this is really, your athlete is your ideal client or your ideal customer avatar, whatever you choose specifically to call it. And I'm going to refer to you as coaches, even though that you're sports entrepreneurs, video entrepreneurs, and small business owners. So just to keep the language clean and understandable, it will be athletes as ideal customers, and us as the people that help them will be the coaches. Now, this is me, Sarah Arrow, and way back in 2006, I had a transport company with my husband, and we had to get our business online, and we didn't have a clue because lots of the search engine information was, I'm going to say it, spam. Google, don't sue me. And if you started to type in something in the search engines, you would get hundreds of pop-ups all over the place, and you didn't know how to trust this information. It was the internet wild, wild west. So I had to work out myself how to get customers online, simply because I didn't understand the language of getting customers. As somebody said to me, customer acquisition, I would think big business and banks and mergers. The language didn't fit me as a small business owner. So as I sort of unraveled the language, and it was certainly like learning another language, I think I could have learned Greek easier than I could learn how to internet market. And as my experience increased, lots of people started coming to me and saying, can I help them? Because I seem to speak a cross between both languages and make it easy for people to understand. So that meant I became a Sage business expert. I'd been featured in Search Engine Journal, in the Guardian newspaper, in Forbes. Forbes listed me 3 times as having the best website for women, and I've won all kinds of awards around content marketing, brand marketing, advertising, and so on. But what I'm probably most known for is that I'm the mother of 2 international and national British Jiu-Jitsu champions, and that's Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My daughters are both training towards their black belts, and next year we'll be competing on the world stage in Hawaii. So fingers crossed they will be household names with international gold medals next year. So when people talk about their passions and their purpose and their big why they do things, our business has kind of evolved into paying for our daughters' trips around the world and their training. And if you coach or do any kind of sport yourself, you'll know that you need lots of people with you, dedicated and supporting you. Which leads us nicely into, you need to understand your athletes well. Because I work with my daughters, and when I say work with them, I'm the chaperone in this instance, I'm not the coach. I understand their needs really well. So when I'm looking for things for them in terms of coaching and additional support, I understand the language, I understand what they need on an individual level. And it's vitally important that us who have services that want to help people in sport, want to help the athletes, learn to know the athletes on an individual level, how they experience our products and services, as well as our brand. And this is the level that we need to interact and reach them. And we need to use every opportunity available to understand our existing athletes or our potential athletes. And I'd like you just to take a moment and ask yourself this question. What does your ideal athlete look like? Now, if a clear image doesn't spring to mind, you've got a little bit of work to do. Or if you say anybody who picks up a cricket bat is my athlete, then you've got a mindset change and some work to do, because not everyone can be your athlete. Somebody who's like Leander there isn't going to need the same coaching and support and encouragement as our guy with a cricket bat, whose name I'm going to pronounce incorrectly, so I'm not even going to try. What gives you your competitive advantage is that you meet your athlete's needs. It's impossible to be all things to all athletes. The cricketer needs a certain type of cricket bat, he needs a certain type of focus and discipline, and the way he gets in the flow is very different from our tennis player, who may be playing on a lawn, they may be playing on a clay, They could be doing all kinds of different things, and therefore they have different mindset issues and different strength and training needs. And if we say we train all athletes, we actually miss all of the people that we can help. By being specific and saying we coach tennis players or we coach cricketers gives us an advantage. In our case, we don't coach anyone, but we do support martial arts clubs. Now, you want to cast your net wide, and I apologise, my dog gets very enthusiastic when I start talking about it.
That is absolutely fine. I've got Benji on my feet here as well.
And I've actually got her on some medication because she gets really excited at times. So if you cast your net wide, there's nothing totally wrong with that, but it means you're not knowing who your athlete is in such detail that you're shooting in the dark. You're going to lose money, you're going to lose time. And if you've got family, that family time is going to be eaten away with work time. And you're going to expend other resources without getting the results that you need. You're not going to be able to generate the leads because you're not going to be able to make the connection. On the other hand, when you know your athlete intimately, you can use your story, you can use your resources more effectively to craft the right message that resonates and perfectly meets your athlete's needs. And when you focus your story and your message to your target market, you'll attract the right people in. So when you make your videos and things like that and start sharing them, when you've niched down and targeted down to your athlete and their specific needs, they'll feel the real connection with you. They'll want to get to know you more. And you only get to know them by carrying out the research. And this research is something that's done ongoing and continuously. You'll be able to keep meeting the needs of your market as they change. Now, research isn't guesswork. It's about gathering objective data through various channels. And two of the best methods are surveys and interviews. Through the direct contact these methods provide, your athletes will tell you what they want, what they expect, and a whole wealth of other information, which makes creating your videos and marketing your business as a coach so much easier. And to start with, you do a little tiny bit of analysis on your own and then work out how best to interact with your athletes in order to get more data. And by the time we finish this session, you're going to be ready to conduct some surveys of your own to get the data that you need. Now, it's always easiest to start with what you've got. If you're an existing coach and you've been offering your services for some time, this is going to be easy for you. You're going to do this in seconds. But if you're just starting out, you're going to need to brainstorm a bit. And this means taking one product or one service and writing down a list of the features. Beside each feature, write the benefit that it provides for the athlete. The difference here between features and benefits is some quality or part of the product itself. However, the benefit is the subsequent effect on your athlete's life. So when you know a bit about them, you know that effect on their life, and this makes this exercise quite strong. So let's imagine your business gives your athlete a content management system where they can keep all of their information together. The CMS allows your athletes to work remotely with their coaches in real time, and that's its feature. And the result is that your athletes now can be anywhere. They don't have to be local to you to enjoy your coaching or your experience. And this increases your business's efficiency and their efficiency. So this is a benefit. And for each benefit you list, ask yourself, who does this feature benefit? In the above example that I've just mentioned, it benefits the athletes, which are internationally competing, ones that move all around the world. Now, if you're already running your business, take a look at your existing athletic data. Your existing athletic data offers valuable shortcuts by understanding who your athletes are. You may be planning to expand or better target your services, but you can get in some clues by looking at existing athletes. One of the things that I discovered when I looked at existing martial artists is they have trouble with their gis and keeping them white. And when I spoke to the other mothers, the ones that had their children in pristine white gis, I discovered that they didn't actually keep their kids in bubble wrap, which was what I was thinking of doing with mine, but they used curtain whitener on the gis to keep them the pristine white colour. So when you observe and look at what surrounds you, you find the secret information, and it isn't bubble wrap, which was really disappointing, I guess. Now, looking at your business, what products and services are selling best amongst your existing athletes? Are there any differences at the different times of the year or in their stages of training? What buying patterns have changed over time? And consider which athletes buy the most from you and which ones have given you the most positive of feedback and the most positive of referrals. Now, another way, and this is the most common way to get ideas, is to use your intuition. Ask yourself, who do you envision to be your ideal athlete? Who would you like to be your ideal athlete? What demographic groups are most likely to buy from you? Is it young athletes? Is it older ones? And which ones aren't likely to buy from you? What challenges, problems, questions, and pain will your product or service help them solve? And the thing with this is, if somebody, your ideal athlete, isn't feeling the pain or discomfort, they're not going to want to make a change, because when they're feeling uncomfortable, when they're feeling the pain, they want to make a difference and they want to make a movement that will alleviate that pressure and give them back what they feel that they're missing. And when you talk about pain points, you don't need to describe it as a pain itself. Sometimes it is uncertainty or overwhelm. You also need to know how they feel about the products they buy. Sometimes when athletes buy products, they buy it because it's the most convenient and not because it's the easiest to get hold of. A lot of the athletes that I work around suffer from bruising. They're throwing each other about all of the time and hitting things, and they get bruising. And the things they use to cover their bruising and alleviate some of the pain isn't the things that we would normally say, like get some arnica or some soothing tiger balm or products like that. They'll grab the nearest lotion to hand, even though it doesn't do a long-term job, it just soothes the skin because they want some immediate release. So you need to know how they feel about the products that they buy. Is it an immediate release, an itch that needs to be scratched, or is it a long-term thing they're looking to resolve? Next, you have to make a plan for how to interact with your audience. And the internet makes this easier than ever to get in touch with your athlete base. And I'm not going to talk to you about video because I'm here with the king of video, but I'm going to talk about two other ways that can help you support what you're doing with video. Now, email is a relatively old method for reaching your athletes. Long before there was Facebook and Twitter, there was email. And although new means of communication are continually appearing, email is still the good old standby. People still pay more attention to email than anything else online. Now, there's several ways to connect with your athletes through email. The standard is to ask for their email address at the point of sale, if you're doing business already, or if you've got small products. Another way is to have email outreach, and that's to reach out to them and invite them onto your blog or onto your channel and give them publicity. You could ask about routines and struggles which is in essence a survey in itself. And sometimes it's appropriate to actually make an offer. Now, I wouldn't recommend that you make an offer to every single athlete that you interview, but some you will make a connection with, and some that you can really help, and there are some that will be really receptive to your help. And this also supports your video marketing efforts, and it also attracts in people, because when you're interviewing athletes, people are going to be looking at it, other athletes, their competition, the people that they train with, and they're going to say, wow, how did they get on this channel? How did they get this interview? How comes they're doing business? How can I do this business? How can I get this help? So as well as a research method, the email outreach also is an attraction method. Now you can directly email via general emails that you've collected, or email outreach, your survey. But I find that if you do a survey, send it to the people who are already on your list. That's the best way for them. And email outreach is best to do the interviews, simply because they're a faster win, but you also get to see the emotions on somebody's face. They're telling you how they train, what they're struggling with, where they're hurting, where they're growing. And this gives you so much information that enables you to adjust how you speak in your videos and how you do certain aspects of your video. It really brings in the human connection, and we all know, as Avi said at the beginning, that we crave that, the story, the shortest route between two people's hearts. Now there's also social media, and we could spend the rest of this evening and most of tomorrow talking about social media. I'm just going to say keep it as simple as possibly can. You don't have to be everywhere, but you do have to be where your athlete is. So if you're choosing to follow and specialize in people needing help with soccer skills, you need to find the groups and forums that they congregate in. You need to research your athletes and ask them, where do they get their advice from? You might find, like I do, that there are lots of Facebook groups for martial artists, but there's not very many groups for Japanese jiu-jitsu. There's hundreds for Brazilian, but those that want to train in Japanese jiu-jitsu tend to have to speak Japanese, and my daughters don't yet. So by doing your research, you can find the forums, the groups and the discussions, and you can actually mine a load of information from that. And I would say be careful with the information that you see on social media. And the reason for that is people know they're surrounded by their peers and don't always tell things exactly how it is. While you're using social media to conduct your research, you can look at their profiles and you can see what they're sharing, what they're trending. You can see the other coaches that they like and they follow, and you can see what those other coaches are sharing and what's popular. And you can then start to adapt to attract these athletes to you. When I say adapt, I don't mean copy, because copying means you lose part of who you are and you become like somebody else, not actually somebody else, but like them. And that never gives you the results that you're looking for. So if somebody's sharing a lot of cat memes with cats playing soccer and things like that, you might want to try that with some different cat memes, or you might want to try a different animal playing soccer. Maybe it's the animal rather than the cat. And you don't know until you try. But in doing this research and making the effort, you start to win over the athletes and they start to follow and interact with you. And one of the easiest things to do is to do a search on the platform where your athletes are and follow every single athlete that fits your profile. And I recommend you follow at least 50 a day. So if you're on Instagram and you're doing reels and videos over there, search down your athletes. You know, you might want to type in Leander Paes and see who follows him. You might want to type in the names of cricketers and see who follows them. And you'll see from the profiles who is really interested in them and is a fellow athlete, or who is just a super fan. And you can then follow the athletes rather than the super fans. If you do 50 a day, you will quickly build up a following, a strong following. I then recommend that you then share the content that belongs to the athletes so that they become aware of you. And when I say share, share with accreditation and tag them in it and say, hat tip to so-and-so, this is really great. And you amplify their voice. And they become curious about the person that's amplifying them, and they want to get to know you. So they start looking at your videos and your reels and your stories. And if you're on TikTok, they look at that. As they get to know you, you can start tagging them and asking them for their opinions. And that also increases your following, because the conversations start naturally. They're not forced, and you're not pitching services to a stranger. You are not a stranger anymore. You're somebody they know, and you're making a recommendation. And I find this is a really powerful way of growing your following so that it supports what you're doing. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now and come back. I think it's just me. If you've got any questions, please do.
That was fantastic. No, I was just taking notes. That was fantastic. Thank you very much. So tell us a little bit more about, you spoke about email, you spoke about, how did you come up with this analogy of athletes? And I love the story about your children, and congratulations. And we look forward to them bringing home the medal and the trophy next year. That obviously has a lot to do with your discipline of making sure that they're disciplined, getting up on time. And obviously you had to make so many changes in your life because you wanted to make sure that there's no candy or extra sweets coming home, and they're hanging out with the right kids and sleeping on time. Therefore, you cannot have lots of people coming up for dinner. You had to change your complete lifestyle. So when you train a champion at home, you all have to live like champions. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. And lots of people, say, for example, you wish to work with martial artists. Lots of people go to the martial arts club and they speak to the sensei and they say, oh, I've got these services and we do sports massage and all your martial artists will just love this sport massage. The sensei knows what goes on with the injuries. He knows which parents are invested in supporting the kids that are becoming champions. And then he'll say, oh, go and talk to that person if he likes you. But if he doesn't know you, he's not going to say, go and talk to that parent. He's not going to say, go and talk to my kids over here. He's going to say, who are you? But you can actually bypass the sensei, who is the gatekeeper, and go directly to the parents if you know that the parents are actively involved in the children's sports. Now, sometimes it isn't the parents, because like you say, there's a lot that goes into it. Here, it's just a few minutes past 7, and I know where you are, it's past 11 o'clock at night. So you're really dedicated.
I'm in Vancouver, Canada, so it is 11 in the morning.
11 in the morning.
Yeah.
Why did I think we were in Indian time? I apologize
when we were coordinating, I was in India, and the calendar also. I think my team is in India and they send the calendar, which is India time. Yeah.
That's why I was thinking it was in Indian time, because your team calendar. But
right.
Yeah, we're going to be going to bed at 8:30, and we've got training tomorrow. So pretty much all of our Sunday, when other families are resting and going to see family and friends, well, not so much now, depending if you're in lockdown or quarantine, but we're just going to be going to training. And when we come back, everybody's tired. My husband trains as well. So all of our Sunday is my husband saying, I didn't know I had muscles in my back at this point. And my daughter's saying, if only I could get a harder punch in, I could do this. And I'm sitting there thinking, if only I had some headphones so I could have a quiet 5 minutes. But if you bypass the sensei, get past the gatekeeper, and you talk to the athletes and the people around the athletes that care, you get such insights so that when you're creating your videos, that you can talk to them, that you know the information, and you can say, if you've ever been in a position where you have thrown your partner across the room and they've come back at you like a truck and they've thrown you and you've got a great big bruise on your arm and it's really sore, the first thing you do is pick up anything that's warm that you can put on your arm to try and ease that pain. And sometimes that's not the best thing. And here's what we recommend. And then you pitch in your product. You've shown you understand the situation the athlete's in.
Nice. I like, yeah. So that's actually going deep into the saying this is exactly what happens in a dojo. And I know how you got hurt. And so I know you, I understand you, I feel for you, I'm empathetic towards your pain. And that's why I came up with a product, which is a solution. Okay.
Yep. And when you do that, you go straight to their heart. Like you said, the story, the shortest distance, just by showing the understanding of how they train and what they do when they've got an ache or a hurt afterwards. And by showing that and telling that little story, they so strongly identify with you. It doesn't matter how many commercials they see, how many Facebook updates they see, how many Instagram messages they get telling them to buy something else. You understood their pain. You understood how they train. You told that story. They've got the connection with you, and it's almost unbreakable until somebody else comes along who perhaps does a slightly better bit of research or just tells a better story. So it's a case of you do your research and talk to your athletes continually and to interview them. Firstly, the interviewing them gives you the really good conversational skills, but it also enables you potentially to pick up a lead if they're good. But it also gives you material for your channel, so you're not having to tell your own story continually. You can tell other people's stories. Think of Oprah in the US. She rarely tells her story. She's always telling other people's stories. She's always interviewing people. And people love to be interviewed by her because she's Oprah. But she's there, she's talking to people, she's interviewing them, she's sharing her stage with them. And as a byproduct of that, they become famous a little bit too. So it's a really powerful thing to do, is to interview your athletes, to talk to them and get to know them and get their stories.
Not only are you learning, because see what I'm having fun. Like yesterday, I was interviewing Cody McCain, and he is a 30-year-old entrepreneur who looks like a 20-year-old entrepreneur. He's got a $12 million company, which is all bootstrapped, no debt, nothing. And he told me yesterday, he said, Avi, I do 3 things every day: mind, body, soul. So he said, for my mind, I meditate; for my body, I work. He said, meditate 20 minutes, work out 40 minutes, and he reads for about 30 minutes. So I was like, okay, I need to meditate, but I am working out almost every day. And for my reading, instead of reading, I'm interviewing amazing people like you. And so you're teaching me every day. So this is my learning. So yeah, so that's fantastic to get to know other people and their stories. And you get your Facebook ads, and you get your blog title, and you get all of that out of it. You know, recently I'd met the gentleman. I'd gone for a conference, you know, Grant Cardone, he has a yearly conference, and I'd gone for that conference, and one of the speakers he had what runs Facebook ads for Donald Trump, and he'd done $1 billion in Facebook ads.
Wow.
So in the evening, I had an opportunity to sit down with him only for a couple of seconds, and he actually came to me and he sat down and he said, how can I help you? And I said, you know what, we do Facebook ads for people all over the world, and we do video ads and all of that. what's your one tip? He said, okay, Abhi, he said, before you start your Facebook ads, always remember the dinner table conversation your prospect is having with his or her spouse. Are they talking about lack of money? Are they talking about health? Are they talking about children's future? What are they talking about? Pick up from there and tell them, is this what is occupying your mind? And take it from there. He said, what are the dinner table? And that's all the time he had. And then he left, and that stayed with me for forever.
It's a powerful thing.
Yeah. And I'm never going to forget, your hands are locked in combat with your partner in your dojo. You pick up one partner, throw him against the wall. The partner comes back, throws you against the wall. It's all a game. It's all fun and games. You all come back, have a shower, get back into your clothes. Nobody knows what's happening in the outside world. You come back and you know the aches and pains that you're having, which nobody else knows. Now, what you suggested was that recreate the entire scene when you're doing an ad or when you're telling people. Your partner threw you against the wall. You came back home. When you came back, you had this pain which seemed like a cold pain in your upper shoulder, upper elbow, and this is what you need for that. So they were like, how do you know these kind of pains originate from here? You were with me in that pain process, and that is going to stay with me forever, because going as detailed as that to understand where the pain originated from and recreating sort of the entire scene and saying, I was with you, I've lived it. Even though I'm not a fighter, maybe I've gone and seen fights, or I've taken the time and I've had the empathy to understand that this is something which requires discipline. And I've spoken to moms of athletes and they've told me that this is how it works. So I put in the time and the effort to understand you, my dear customer, and therefore this solution is the best for you. Awesome. I loved it. I'm just reframing it so I never forget.
And it's even better with your reframe.
That is fantastic. I love that, because you know what, like I said, I don't read books and I interview amazing people like you, and I just sit down and I'm thinking, what is my message for the day? What is my message for the day for myself? What is my message? And I promise you, I am going to repeat this so many times, because I love the analogy of throwing the partner and then the partner coming back and all of that. And while you getting in that pain and getting out of pain, you're building up to become a champion like your two daughters are. You must be feeling you must be the most, how do I put it? The most, you must be having the, like sometimes if you feel safe or unsafe, I'm sure with 3 fighters around you, you must be feeling super safe at all times. You're like, okay, listen, I've got a husband, but guess what? I'm going to call my daughters first to sort you out. Somebody cuts you off the wrong way or whatever. You're like, oh, you don't want to do that to me.
Well, I share a little story with you. In martial arts, when they become quite advanced, they do weapons training. And that means they use daggers that are about this long, called sai. If you've seen the film Electra, that's the weapons that she uses.
Oh, yes, I have.
And my daughters have a tanto, which is a short sword, like a dagger. And they also have a katana, which is about 3 feet in length. And my elder daughter, who is just 16, has the katana that Michonne has in The Walking Dead. So, it's a ray skin, it's really big, and she wields it around like younger girls wield the batons for majorettes, when they do the twirling of the batons. My daughter's like that with her sword, and it's a live sword with a very sharp blade. So I stay to the edge of the room really most of the time. Last weekend, it was her birthday, and we got some bottles of grape juice that had been corked, and you keep them in the fridge for about 24 hours. Then you peel off the foil at the top, and she takes her sword and runs it down the bottle at speed and takes off the entire top end glass and cork. Now, this is known as sabraging. And my daughter last weekend must have sabraged about 15 different bottles. And her friends are martial artists, so they're like, oh, can I have the sword? Can I have a go? And they're all doing it. And then there were a couple of parents who thought, oh, that must be easy. And all of them had forgotten that our kids have been training since they were 4 years old. Wow. And what they make look simple is actually really rather difficult for us civilians. And we didn't quite have a hospital case, but we nearly had one where one of the dads like, I can do that, give me a bigger sword, and took the chunk off the thumb, not down the bone, but deep enough to hurt.
Oh.
So,
but obviously, when you put a bottle like this, and you know, with whatever power you do, you can't. You either break the bottle or nothing happens.
yep.
But for it to have a swift breakthrough, and what did you call that again? What's it called? A sabrage?
Yeah, a sabrage. It's a French word.
When you actually do it's what do you say? You do a sabrage or you conduct a sabrage? How do you say that?
Yep, they say that. They say sabraging, and it's a real mindset issue. Because you have to focus, because you've got the bottle here in this hand, and it's not your dominant hand, because your sword hand is your dominant hand. And you've only got your 4 fingers and your thumb to hold the bottle still, and then run the sword up the length of the bottle at just the right speed and the right pressure that it clean comes off the end. And
wow.
As martial artists, they're used to their weapons and the focus and the discipline that they can pick up a bottle and do it almost on the first time. And I've since discovered online that for people like us who never do this kind of thing, never pick up these kind of weapons and don't have that focus, it can take us up to 6 months to learn this skill.
Wow. You must be a proud mom. You are. I can see that. I can see the pride when you talk about
Mom, I can't hide it.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. I learned so much and I got inspired. I've got 2 beautiful daughters, 14 and 11. One of them is training to be, she wants to be a Hollywood star. She gets up in the morning. She does her, she cooks her own food. Every time she goes to a friend's house, she takes her own food. Everything that goes into her body, mind. She said no to 50% of her friends because she feels they're not the right people to take her in the right direction, mindset wise. Kids are super focused. My younger daughter is like, all I want is ice cream. That's all. What will it take to do ice cream? 1 hour of homework, that's it. It doesn't leave me alone for the rest of the day. So I've got 2 daughters with totally different aims in life. And I'm like, do whatever makes you happy. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, I think you should be able to do whatever you want in life.
Yeah,
So
and that's such a good philosophy to teach your family.
Daughters are special. And you, ma'am, have a special husband as well, because I'm sure he brings in lots of discipline and all of that into the house with him being a martial artist as well.
I think the thing with it is whatever discipline, whether it's martial arts or another sport, that when you become an athlete, when you become a champion, you do bring an intensity and focus into the home, and it spills over into all other aspects of your life. So we're always on time because we're always on time for training. So we're always where we're meant to be at the specific time. And you know, you've got your daughter who's already thinking in terms of who the right people are for her, who are going to help her on her journey and who are going to hold her back. And that's so common with other sports people and sports entrepreneur, because not many people understand the dedication and the commitment and the sheer amount of energy and focus that it is to develop yourself. So you can't have people on the same journey with a lack of commitment. You have to have the people that are going in the same direction as you. And yes, some do fall by the wayside, but that's where you find the team element comes in, that people will help the people that fall by and bring them back into line, and they all continue in the same direction. Or the person will resist and say, this is where my journey ends here. This is my crossroads. I'm going this way, you're going that way. But that's something that comes from training together, working together and being together. And I think your daughter will have the same friends at 30 years old when she's a Hollywood star and we're all watching us. Her dad interviewed me.
I would love to do a follow-up where, if possible, my daughters can speak to your daughters on a video call, and maybe we can record that, and that would be, because there are 2 very disciplined kids over here, and they're 2 amazing, daughters that you have. I would love to get all of them together, maybe on a video call sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it will be such fun. And I know my children's friends will be all excited to see them talking about what they're doing for their hopes and dreams and things in the future, because so many kids have forgotten about their futures with what's going on with the pandemic situation. And it's
Right.
such a shame that they've stopped dreaming and they've stopped having aspirations. I don't think
So,
you can ever stop dreaming.
100%, 100%. No, I'm dreaming big. We're building a school called the Internet Moguls of the World with me, with my daughters as co-founders, and we're interviewing amazing people from all over the world. We're getting online courses are being given to us. People are making special courses only for this school and contributing. And then we have founders of all the big software companies coming in and giving us how to use their tools. So we're building a big school with my daughters. At the age of 44, I am not slowing down anytime soon. It's a lot of fun. And thank you so much for your time. This was definitely, see, I do this for my audience, and sometimes it's also for me. Today, my intention was, what am I going to learn from you? And I learned so much. And I have so much that I'm going to always be quoting back, because you have such a beautiful story. You have such a beautiful way of telling a story. I'm going to always remember the discipline and sobrage my way through life. All right. Thank you so much, and look forward to staying connected. We have a following of about 200,000 people. We have an email list. We have, anytime you have a podcast, a book, or anything that me or my community in India or Vancouver, Canada can do for you, remember, you always have a friend. All you need to do is send us an email, say, Avi, I need your help in promoting this. And the answer will be yes, let's do it.
Thank you, Avi. That's really kind. And thank you for having me as a guest. I've really enjoyed my time and you sharing your wisdom with me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Look forward to staying in touch.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.